so good to be joining you today. I have my dear brother Joshua Aaron with me. You can see him right now on the screen. I didn't even plan this, but we're wearing similar color shirts.
I was just gonna say, I was thinking that when I saw you. Yes, we are.
Oh, brother, it's always so good to connect with you. And you just been on a whirlwind adventure. So
Hmm.
I wanted to get you on here just to highlight a lot of how the Lord was using you during this last war. I mean, we were together on October 6th and October 7th. We
Yeah.
had that together. And this next round, you were over there in Israel firsthand with all of the missiles, the rockets, with Midnight Hammer, the operation with the U.S. And so I thought it would be such an important discussion just to have because as we're talking about last days, the prophetic, you can see how this last war is paving the way for Ezekiel 38. And I've been one of these people that has just, we have to look at the Bible. We can't look at current events, then the Bible. It has to be that other way around because the biblical narrative always comes to be true because it's the
Yeah.
spirit breathing. So, real quick, maybe just for people who in the world who didn't know what just occurred. There was an operation. Israel had to go and dismantle Iran's nuclear capabilities, and all the intelligence points out that there were 3 weeks away from arming missiles that would have been launched. And listen, either we believe what people say, and the Ayatollah from Iran has been calling for the death of America and also the death of Israel for 40 years. And there's just no way we can allow someone like that to have nuclear capability in a war because it's just,
That's right.
it's immoral, I mean, from any other standpoint. But so Israel had to go and hit Iran's nuclear facilities, and they went above par. I mean, they took out leadership of the Revolutionary Guard, they took out scientists that were involved in that. They really took it to the next level to ensure that for generations, hopefully, the people that knew how to create this capability would be removed. And I find it interesting, they called this operation Rising Lion, which connects directly to Numbers 23 through 24, specifically chapter 24, when the king Balak asks Balaam to come and curse Israel. And rather than doing that, he's prophesying over Israel's future. And
Uh-huh.
the rising lion from the reading is actually a foretelling of the lion from the tribe of Judah who's going to rise and return to remove Israel's enemies once and for all. I find that
Right.
interesting that Israel prophetically picked that operation. And this is pretty cool too, that when America came in to kind of seal the deal in Iran, they chose Operation Midnight Hammer and Hammer Maccabee, connecting us to the Hanukkah
Yeah.
story, and also
Yeah.
which is a pre-shadow of the last days. And so uh, just catch us up. You were over in Israel, Joshua, during this
Hmm.
time,
Yep.
visiting your son, and
Yeah. Well, yeah. First of all, I love you, brother. I love you, my man. I love your family, Malky, your boys. It's so cool to get to do life with you all these years. And I just thank you so much. You're there in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm here in the Pocono Mountains right now. I'm not in Israel at the moment. Um, but you've been such a voice. Thank you for all you've been doing, especially with the podcast, and because it's been quite lonely, outside of our little, extended family circle, which we are like brothers,
yeah.
like brothers. Because I know people are going to see this like, I didn't know you were brothers. No, we're like brothers. Um, and But first off, just got a text message from my son's, and he's okay. My son's sergeant, and my wife and I just like sort of cried because we haven't heard from him in a couple weeks. Not a couple weeks, maybe a little more than a week, and he's in Gaza right now. So for us, even being in Israel or not Israel, we're always our family is on the line. Like our daughter was in the IDF um, during the October 7th invasion. And that was scary for my wife and I. She was a sergeant in the IDF. And she just got out this past August. 4 days after she gets out, my son goes in. So my wife and I um, moved back to Israel, where my mom is from. And when you maintain citizenship, for me, I'm not an immigrant. I'm a returning citizen technically because my mother's Israeli, even though I wasn't born there. But we raise our kids there, and then it's mandatory army service. So we chose the worst time to to have our children in the army. Everybody serves in the IDF, but this is the worst war of our lifetime, in Israel. So we're just grateful for God's hand over them. But every day is a heavy day for Jeannie and I. And have to kind of just stay busy with the other. We've got three kids at home now, two kids in Israel. My daughter is 21 now, and she's got her own life. She's got her own apartment in Israel in the Galilee. And so we went, all that to say, I'm just kind of putting it all together. We went to visit our son. Like we go, I'm there all the time, but as a family, we go, certain times a year as a whole family to go back because we've been in the States over a year and a half now. Uh, and most people don't know that. We just felt it was just actually it was just before October 7th that a couple months before that we knew it was a time to be on this side of the bridge to join you, Nathan, on this side of the bridge to be a light to the nations. And it's much easier to do that from this side of the pond. And I didn't realize how strategic God had it because right after we left, a couple months later, is when October 7th happened, and we were there able to be over here to be a representative of our family over there, our adult children serving in the IDF. So we went there. I'm making this short story long. We went there and to be with our son and all seven of us to be together. My wife and I, we have five kids total. So all seven of us together. We still have our house in the Galilee that we've had for 10 years now. We've been leasing it. A wonderful landlord. We love her so much. So thank God we went back to our own place and we have our own bomb shelter that if you have a newer house that's been built in the last 20, 30 years, they always you legally have to add a bomb shelter. Or if you remodel a house in Israel, you legally have to build a bomb shelter. So most houses, if they're old in the kibbutz, they don't. You have to run to a bomb shelter somewhere in the neighborhood. But we had our own bomb shelter. But we arrived on the 12th at we got to our house 6 p.m. something like that. That night is when it started. We arrived the very day it started. So that night the alarms went off. And I mean, don't forget we lived there for almost 10 years. So our kids only knew the alarm sign only for drills, really. It rarely that anything like this happened in the Galilee. It's really, we call it Goshen because every time something happens, terrorist attacks, it just doesn't happen in the Galilee. There was one time there was a stabbing intifada, like it happened quite a bit across the country. We almost had one in Tiberias, but the guy looked suspicious and they caught him beforehand. So we've been really kind of removed from the big, by God's grace, removed from the big dangers that some, have gone to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Haifa, and some of the outlying cities on the borders. So this was really a shock to us. So that night we go to the bomb shelter at 3 a.m. and then another time I think it was 5 a.m. And then it was just 12 days of constantly getting ready for the bomb shelter. Or my wife or my kids are playing a video, watching a video on their phone, and the alarm goes off, and we're all like, "Is it? No, no, it was just a video. Sorry, it was it was kind of like we were always ready. But where we live, where our house is in the Galilee, it's just over the Syrian border. Because if you look, we're on the west shore of the Sea of Galilee, and Syria is on the east shore, and that's the Golan Heights. Just ends at the bottom of the Sea of Galilee, the southern part. So it comes right over the lower Golan Heights, over the Sea of Galilee. So all the rockets aimed for Haifa and kind of towards Tel Aviv, we're seeing a lot of them getting intercepted over us. So we're seeing hundreds of rockets. Most of them aren't aimed for us, but a lot. We didn't realize this till the last several days. We're like, one of these is coming for us. But then we realized later, well, the trajectory, they were trying to get it across into Haifa and Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So we were watching them get intercepted. We were watching fields lit up on fire because the rockets would get hit in the air and they'd land in fields by us. huge pieces of shrapnel in our village from them getting intercepted. So we were right in the middle. So we really did feel it. And then we were only supposed to be there for 12 days. That was our trip, but Delta canceled all the flights until August 31st. Um, and So I called my buddy over at Sarel Tours, David Katz, and he's like, "Hey, I, I was like, I heard you have a bus going over because all the flights were canceled. We didn't know if they'd open up, and this is the day of the ceasefire. So I'm like, hey, I heard you have a bus going over. How safe is it?" He's like, "Oh, we got a special charter. We could add you out of the list." I'm like, "I might not want to go tomorrow." He's like, "Well, it might be another week or two. We might not be doing it again." I'm like, "Shoot, okay, we'll go." And I was just then we started the trip back, which took a long time to get back. We could have waited a week or two and got back. And it's hindsight. I'm looking back like, oh, I should have waited. But I really felt like we had our job to do over here, and the already was a ceasefire, and we were there as long as we planned to be there. So now we're very eager to speak up. I'm wearing this big old Israel hat everywhere I go, and I get some sneers when we crossed the Jordan border. Man, I had my chai. It's Hebrew, as you know, it's for life, and that's the difference between us and the Islamic regime and these terror-led or countries or regions. They honor death. They honor death. Palestinians, martyrs who kill. They call themselves martyrs. They're not martyrs. They're murderers. They get virgins in heaven. Their families get money for life. They honor death. In Israel we honor life. So this is why I always so us as believers in Yeshua, we believe He's the bread of life. And but just it's life, life, life. We don't have to die for our sins. Somebody else did that. So we don't have to die. Like it's all about living. Yes, we die to our flesh so that we can honor others around us and be a blessing to others. So it's just a terrible flip of theology, really. So I remember my necklace kind of popped out when I was going to the back of the plane in Jordan, and I'm telling you, the last three, it could just be my brain, but I got everybody was just in that whole back row and just looking at the Muslims, looking at my necklace, and I kind of felt their face just stiffen up. Just they weren't looking at me, they were just looking at my necklace like, I think that might be Hebrew. So I felt like the tension, and they told us don't speak in Hebrew, especially during the tensions right now. You don't know because Jordanians are pretty peaceful, but Jordanian is a hub for other Arab nations to come through in and out. So we had to be really careful. And as soon as we got on the plane, we had to go to Athens. As soon as we got on the plane from Athens to America, we're like starting speaking Hebrew, and I'm like, all right, this is great. This is great. I can speak in Hebrew now, just because I just wanted to feel free to do that. But you get to America, and there's some of that here too. So it's 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 um it's wild how this is all spread, and it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that my great grandparents were killed, the Schweitzers. They were killed in the Holocaust. My grandmother fled to Israel. Her brother, my mom's mother's brother, my mom's uncle, died in the War of Independence in 1948. His name was Zvi Epstein. And then my uncle, my mom's brother, was in the 6 Days War. Half his platoon was killed on the Temple Mount. When they were putting that flag up in that famous picture. He's like, I was there. Hi, Tisham. But he was like about 10 people behind them, up on that Temple Mount. So much of our has happened for our people to survive, and it's just wave after wave for centuries of people trying to extinguish our people. And I just didn't think I'd be alive during one of those eras. It's hard to believe. I'm shaken by it, really. As my son is in Gaza right now, he he chose to go in combat. He was offered the Air Force in the Israeli Army, the Israeli Air Force, and they were going to put him. But he said he was most likely going to be a guard for the Iron Dome, which is a really noble job. But he actually, my son's halfway to get his private pilot's license, so he loves the Air Force, but he really wants to be in combat. But he didn't want to serve for 10 years because if you become a pilot, he didn't want to do 10 years or however long it's required. But a year and a half ago, his best friend's parents were killed by a Hezbollah rocket from Lebanon. And I feel like that had a lot to do with him saying, okay, I want to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else I love. This evil people trying to come in and kill my friends, my family. So he actually turned down the Air Force job and said, I want to go in combat. So for him, he's not killing people, in case anybody's wondering. He's just trying to dismantle what Hamas has built. So and that's all I can say. He has not murdered anybody, shooting at anybody, but he is the Army Corps of Engineers is what they do is they tear things down and they can dismantle things. So tunnels, Hamas infrastructure, that's what he's doing right now. But it's an extremely dangerous job, and there's been some death in his unit, and every time we hear of it, it rips through us, my wife and I, like our souls. It's just so we just keep praying that he gets out of there. We want him to be done and to be home with us, and we're mad at him and proud of him. Why'd you choose combat? But he believes, just like King David. There's a time to defend your people and to defend your borders, and this is obviously the time to do so because we saw what they've done and what they're willing to do and what they keep chanting they will continue to do. So it's an obvious thing outside of this woke culture where they're all just saying river to the sea. I just believe the era we're in, but I'm grateful for warriors like my son and the IDF who I know many soldiers. You know many soldiers, Nathan. They're
Yeah.
sweet that don't want to hurt anybody, but they have this compulsion to protect their friends and their family. And we have a slogan: never forget, and we remember what people have done before. What Hitler had promised to do, and did to 6 million of us, and the Ayatollahs are promising that and worse. And we won't let it happen this time.
Yeah, it's a powerful word. You said remember. Uh, in Hebrew, it's not just something that you think about. You put action. When that word
Mm,
remember is used in scripture, it's always followed by because something was happening. When the Lord remembered Noah,
mm,
he removed the water and put him safely on a mountaintop. And so every time you kind of see that, it's a demonstration of our loyalty to the Lord,
hmm
but also of his faithfulness to us. And so your son is remembering that, he put his action is to be a defender, a protector. It's a very noble and important cause. And I just, commend all of your kids because they've said we're not just going to be a Jew in our culture, but we're also going to defend and protect. And so if we could go back just a little bit, because I want people to kind of get this experience, you're over in the Galilee, you're seeing rockets flying over, you're with your family, and you're just having dinner, you're living, you're doing what you should be as a family. And here in the West and in Europe and other places of the world, they're not used to this constant bombardment. I mean, even if you look before June 22nd, when this last operation happened, look at what happened on October 7th with all of those rockets. It's Israel is constantly bombarded and harassed by these
Oh my
alarms
word!
having to go off. And so what
Yeah.
is it like to have to do that? You're just sitting. Can you just walk us through what it's like?
When the alarm started going off,
Yeah, like what's going on? You're all like you're in just constant preparation for war. It's not like you're living in a bomb shelter, right? 24/7.
no, yeah, yeah. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, so it was, majority of the time we're not in the bomb shelter. It's just they changed the system because we know what the alarms sound like because we're not in an active territory where the bombs hit all the time. My uncle is. My uncle lives in northern Israel, and they've got Katyushas, Qassam rockets everywhere as decoration all around his kibbutz because they're Lebanese border, and it's been happening for years and years and years. So for them, but for us, we know what the alarm sounds like because they have drills every year, several a year. But they changed it this year, and so, but everybody, kind of like, I don't know if you've ever got a missing persons alert on your phone. It's almost like they hack your phone, even if you don't have the app you're supposed to have. Everybody, if you have a phone, your phone just pops up, says stay close to it. They'll warn you in advance. And because it's most of them came from Iran, we had, you know, 10 minutes. I forget how long. It got blurry after a while. We had several minutes to until they were in our region. So it'd say, hey, get close to the bomb shelter. The alarms will be sounding soon. So it was a pretty cool system. And then if it was coming to us, then a big, almost sounds like a fire alarm in America from the firehouse, but way louder and scarier. I don't know. You'd say. I guess because means. I guess. So when that went off, when the fire alarm sounded in the area, you can hear it through your windows. Then okay, it's coming to us, to our area. So then you're going to your but several times that alarm didn't go off, but our phone said get it. We don't know for sure where it's going to hit, so get in your bomb shelter. So we had the first one saying, get ready to go in your bomb shelter, and the second one, go in your bomb shelter. And then after 5 minutes, if it's clear, then they'll say, you're free to leave your bomb shelter. So about 3, 4 days in, it all just started getting blurry. We put mattresses across my daughter's bedroom, which is where the bomb shelter is. And then at night, we just started putting our youngest ones in that bed, put a mattress on the floor. So my wife, it was just me and my wife, and our son Max is 16. Our daughter's 21. Shuki was in Gaza. So at that time, so they don't have anywhere to go. They just there's nowhere to go in Gaza. So they just kind of just waited. So yeah, we just got used to it after a while, and then the third or fourth day, we were in the bomb shelter for 10, 20 minutes, and then we'll get out of the bomb shelter, and then we're walking around, like, look at the sky. 5 minutes after that, it says you're free to leave your bomb shelter. Like, oh, we weren't supposed to leave our bomb shelter. So it got a little confused times. And then there was a few times where the alarm didn't go off, and then we were getting group messages from our village saying, hey, the alarm didn't work, and a huge part of a Qassam, or a rocket landed right 4 blocks from our house, and they said we should have known, and they're like doing an inquiry because not all the alerts were coming through at the right time. The kibbutz next to my studio, one landed right through the living room of somebody's house, just half a mile from where my studio is down there, of about a mile from my daughter's apartment down there. So there was a lot of that. And the first couple of days were real scary for the kids, and then by the end it was a little more like, oh, here we go, we're doing this again. It was still, we're still every once in a while we're like, what if it did land? What if it did? Would it go through the roof for second floor and then right to our, what if it comes the other way where, from Hezbollah, if Hezbollah starts, and that's the angle where our house is, where the bomb shelter is. And we just started thinking about scenarios, and we're like, oh, the more often this happens, this is my head. This increases the chance. So there's just a lot of that. And then really the residual is, my sons were playing a video game, an NBA video game, and they have an alarm on there, like a fun alarm when somebody does something cool. It sounded just like our alarm. So those little things ever happen once in a while, and we're all just like, I see everybody else is just like, and then they kind of go back about their business. But there's a little bit of a residual in us from it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were living through unnatural situations, and you're having to all the stress obviously building up. I mean, can you imagine being here in the West, and it'd be like, were you living somewhere where rockets are being launched from Canada or Mexico? Americans just don't have the
That ain't
concept.
happening.
When we hear alarms, it's a tornado, hurricane, or
Yeah,
like what you said. I thought that was a really good analogy. When there's a missing person, your whole phone is vibrating and going off to get
yeah.
everyone's attention. Be on the lookout. But you're getting
Mhm.
that. And were they mostly launching their missiles and rockets at night because it was a harassment barrage, basically?
It,
So,
way more at night. Honestly, that's how they can inflict more damage because everybody's home. They're aiming at homes and apartments. Majority was civilians. So think about it. At nighttime, everybody's sleeping. Like, you're actually, when you do that, you're trying to get a captive audience. Right, you're trying to kill as many people as possible. And people always talk about the lopsided part of the war, and people in the West don't realize that, what if Israel wasn't about life and preserving life? Chai, you know? What if they didn't have bomb shelters? And that's mandatory to have. What if they didn't invest in billions for the Iron Dome, you know? Well, maybe we're talking hundreds, if not millions of people wounded or killed, you know? Think about that. April and October last year, they launched, Iran launched hundreds of rockets. So when people think about Israel going in to harm, to destroy military targets, not civilian targets, it's not just, oh, it's not only that we think they're going to have, they will be having a nuclear weapon. They just bombed us in April and October of last year in something that's never happened in history that far in that kind of attack. So Israel is saying, okay, not only did they show us they're willing to kill all of our civilians with every rocket they could find, they're almost nuclear. Like there's no second guessing what they'll do. They just did it. They just don't have the big weapon yet, and they're about to. So all of it is so obvious, and I keep going back to just the demented thinking of civilized people. I can't believe that anybody's justifying it. And you and me, we know Iranian people, a majority of the people we know, all of them we know, they're saying, hey, we want our country back. Those guys in 1979, that changed. Before that, it was an oasis of a democratic society in the Middle East. What we're witnessing is a takeover of extreme Islam. They're taking haven't yet officially, but they're taking over Europe, and coming to a city near you in America, and we need to pray through this. And it is juxtaposed. It is the opposite of what Judeo-Christian society believes.
Yeah,
And
100%. How did you feel when you're over there? I was obviously blasting your phone because I was checking on you and
thank you, brother. Yeah,
quite a few of my other friends. It was overwhelming, quite honestly, because I could not. My wife, Malky, and I, we couldn't sleep. We were by our phones checking, like up to the last moment. We close our eyes to sleep for a couple hours and wake up. And it was the first thing we did, and then messaging everyone. But for you, from your standpoint, how did you feel? Were the nations standing with Israel and praying, or did you feel like it was October 7th where it was pretty silent?
October 7th, pretty silent. Yeah, yeah, this hurts me a lot. Um, I don't understand it. I don't think I saw one or two, even Christian artists, even mentioning it, uh, praying for Israel. Just curious. I was going on some social media pages, like people we all love, and they're good people. I just was trying to think this through. Like I don't understand why is nobody. This means if all these rockets landed, 1,000, I think, UAVs and ballistic missiles altogether, if they landed, you're talking about maybe a million, hundreds of thousands of deaths. Why is nobody saying, like, just praying for the situation, or they were just quiet, you know? Um, it was blowing my mind. It blew my mind.
One of the things I was trying to process it through, you have Americans and,
Hey,
even on
but can we do a part two, and you can lead us in too? My
yeah, yeah.
son's calling me from Gaza right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll come right back in.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Love you, brother.
All
Thank
right,
you.
love you too. Hey, thank you everyone. We're back. We had to hit a pause because Joshua's son was calling from Gaza, and it's important as a dad, as any of you who have children that serve could understand the heart of a father to want to know what his son is doing, what's going on. And so thank you all for letting us take that little pause in the middle. But, I'll just hand it right back
Yeah.
to you, Joshua.
Yeah. As much as I love you, my son calls. We haven't heard from him in like a week and a half. Like, bye. And it was his command. He doesn't have his phone there because security reasons. So he uses his commander's phone. And I'm like, oh, I recognize that number. And then he texts, "Hey, Abba, it's me. It's me, Shuki." So yeah, I hopped off quick, and he's okay. Just came back from a very dangerous mission, and they're about to let's just say um, the goal really is to bring the hostages home. So that's their mission. So they've got a call for an advance to get closer to where they believe hostages are, and it's been really dangerous. So, and I appreciate all the prayers for my son Shuki, who's working to bring them home collectively with the IDF. So I appreciate it. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. All I know is that he is. They've got some intel that their next mission is to get close to bringing them home, even closer, I should say, because all along this is the goal. Once we have our hostages back, it's a whole different story. So if you're watching this video, please pray for our IDF soldier, son Shuki. I'm selfish. Please pray for especially my son Shuki, to bring him home as he's working to bring them home, bring our hostages home. Woo! Thanks for letting me take the call and being so gracious, Nathan.
Oh, of course. I'm a dad. If I had my son calling from the front lines, I can't even imagine. But so maybe we could circle back. We were talking about this experience you had. Rockets were flying over. You didn't really know where they were going to land. You had two warnings, and the second one was the severe one. There was a direct hit on one apartment complex, and no one there had bomb shelters, and that was the highest casualties that we had during the war.
Hmm.
Did you did you feel like there was support from the nations? And this is something that we were sharing earlier. Like, you felt it was as quiet on October 7th from the world. Just there's a few pastors. I mean, there's probably
Yeah,
more than a handful. It's just tough that when this is your daily reality, who's standing with us? Does anyone in the world really care? Does the church care? And you would think all of these
yeah,
people that bring tours to Israel all the time, that they would be the first ones to say, I brought a tour to Israel, I'm praying for Israel, and I'm also praying for the salvation of the Arab people. Like, obviously
yeah. Or the
nobody.
innocent people, like all that is wonderful. That God will protect the innocent people on both sides. Like all that's great. Um, but they're not saying anything, or they're choosing Hamas sometimes, I sang at an event a couple months ago. It was a huge event. It wasn't my event. I was just sang with these well-known Christian singers. I just sang a backup. So, um, but the host pastor was um, Arab, and which I love. Like that's my cousin. We're brothers. But I had a big old. I think I had my pink Israel hat. Or no, it was probably just a pink or blue Israel hat. I'm about to sing, about to pray in Hebrew because this is this big broadcast conference, and I was the token Jew. It's because there's a lot of nations represented. They don't really. They just wanted to have as many peoples represented. So I thought I'll wear my hat, and then it was Shabbat, so I had my kippah. I wear my yarmulke on Shabbats and then the holidays. I don't usually wear it every day. That's kind of how I grew up. I grew up with an Orthodox grandmother. We visited her on Shabbat. I'd wear my kippah, so it kind of carried into my adult life. Um, so I wore it. I wore my kippah. Then I asked one of the directors, like, "Hey, should I wear this hat?" And they're like, "It'd be better if you just wear the little hat, the little hat." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll be respectful." Um, and the pastor that was the host pastor, he wasn't in charge of the event. He was hosting the event at his church. He said, and this is just to explain a disconnect. I just don't understand it. He said, "Hey, before you pray, I just want to know what you're praying for." And I said, "Well, honestly, I wasn't going to be very political. I thought my yarmulke or my hat might be enough to explain, but I was going to pray for peace that can only come through the Prince of Peace." And I'll expound a little bit, but I wasn't going to talk about nations necessarily. I just felt that conviction just to pray for peace and to pray in Hebrew. I prayed the Our Father in Hebrew as well. And he goes, "Well, that's good to know because he said I wanted to know if you're going to pray, which side you're going to pray for on the conflict of the war." And I'm just like, huh, I did not expect that to be my question. He said, because if you did, I'm Palestinian, I would pray just, to address the other side. And I'm like, well, yeah. And that's when I said, well, yeah, I wasn't really going to pray, about, it wasn't going to name a nation because I felt like this might be enough, my yarmulke at this point. And he said, I said, oh, I didn't realize you were Palestinian. Well, it's such an honor to meet you, you know. He said, well, I'm like, where are you from? He's like, well, I'm not from there. He said, my father is. I'm like, well, okay, well, what city is he from? And he said, Haifa. And I'm like, huh. Uh, it set me back a little bit because I have plenty of Arab friends that are from Haifa, and they would every one of them call themselves Israeli, you know. And in that same instance, my mother was born and raised in Haifa. My mom was born in January of 48 before the rebirth of the state. So my mother is also, her first passport was Palestinian. So my mother's Palestinian. And it wasn't Arab Palestine, it was British Mandate Palestine. And it was in Hebrew and Arabic. It was always Jews and Arabs under British Mandate Palestine. So just that alone, I'm like, why did you choose to say Palestinian when every Arab in Haifa would, every one of them, at least 99% of them would say that they're Israeli. So just that, like in the church world, it's a constant, um, you know, um, a constant pull back away from what the Bible says to do, to pray for Israel, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, you know, and the understanding that Yeshua is coming back to Israel when we Jews welcome him back in Hebrew. Like this is all in the New Testament here, and there's no like working your way around it. It's biblical that Jesus said to the Jews, our people in Jerusalem, I will not come back until you say, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. They didn't say, not until you say Allahu Akbar, or until you say something in Arabic. Jesus, Yeshua, is coming back to a Jewish people, which only reinforces the miraculous age we're in because we were scattered. 6 million of us were killed just in the Holocaust, just in that one instance of persecution and murder and actual genocide. Um, and now we're back. It doesn't seem possible. It's miraculous that we're back. Like all of these things should be just a no-brainer for the church, for especially for pastor who studies the Word of God. So that I don't know. That's just the hardest thing for me to understand. We mentioned Iran earlier. If you talk to any Iranian, and I say this all the time because it's such a great case in point that to be anti-Semitic is a learned thing. You don't just arrive there. Somebody taught you this. You don't see it in scripture. You can't theologically find any way to get your way there unless you learned it from somebody or unless you were pushed in that direction. Because I'll tell you, because first of all, biblically, yes. My case is that when you meet any Iranian that gets radically saved, every single one of them, and I know many of them, most of our Jewish believers in Israel, and you do as well, every single one of them just falls in love with Israel because they read the Bible. They're like, oh, you from Israel? This is where Jesus is from. That's where Jesus is going to return. I'm so honored to meet a brother. Romans 9, 10, 11 talks about this. You're not supposed to boast that you're saved and they're not, but to be honoring because the root comes from you. The root from words. They just open the Bible and they love Israel. And of course, they believe that like us. They're like, oh, we hope they understand who Jesus is, which they will someday, according to the New Testament, according to Scripture. So it's just to see this indoctrination to go. It has not crept, just flooded like a wave into the church from the top down is mind blowing. It's mind blowing. And they're all, they're not traveled. They've never been to Israel most of the time. I saw probably one of the biggest anti-Semitic podcasters, Candace Owens. Um, if you watch her history of becoming fully anti-Semitic, and I don't say that lightly, it's obvious that she is. Um, took a trip to Israel, and she totally didn't understand the Jewish quarter and the Arab quarter, the Muslim quarter, that it was unbelievable. She thought that they were segregated. Instead, that they came to grips and honored their culture and said, okay, this is the most sacred city in the world. You can have this section. Let's give the Christians this. This is just this little old city is tiny, and there's Muslims all across all of Israel. A couple million. So it's like um, this. It's not what you think it is. It's this misconception, or you're honestly trying to find cases to match the story and the narrative that you have. That in those cases don't really exist. So it's man, maybe
Well, I think
I'm speaking a little too free today because I'm with my buddy, my bro, Nate Wilbur today. Sorry,
no,
sorry
you're
if you guys,
good.
and I'm getting a little too intense, but I just come back from being under rockets for 12-day war. Just got off the phone with my son who's trying to bring our hostages home. I think we're going to look back in time. If you're watching this years later, it's real. It's the most real it's ever been for us, and I'm just letting it all out right now.
I think it's important though that we do so that people can understand where we're coming from. You know, Yeshua in his own words said, "You're going to be hated by all nations because of me." Who is he speaking to? A Jewish audience. You know, I'm not trying to be all Jew here. What I'm trying to do is to pull on hopefully empathetic nature of people to say what's happening is wrong. Israel is the only democratic nation in the Middle East fighting for its very existence, that Jews do have a legal claim to that land,
Hmm.
and we deserve to exist. Now,
Yeah,
if you look at the surrounding areas, the Arab nations have tons of land. They can spread out comfortably, but Israel don't have that type of comfort. We're just trying to hold
yeah.
on to what God promised us. Thankfully, the promises to Abraham one day will be expanded when Yeshua returns. But my point
Mhm.
is, the reason, I've spent so much time in prayer over this issue, Joshua. It's been very difficult for all of our community to kind of understand why a majority of the church continues to remain silent. And I think it's because they're looking at the pastor spoke to you exactly the sentiment in the church. Well, if I choose that side, then I have to do this to counter it, or else I'll be seen as anti-Arab. And it's not the case, because the angel of the Lord, when he came to Joshua, Joshua says, "Whose side are you on?" He's like, "I'm on the side of the Lord's." Whose side are you on, Joshua? He flipped the script. And that's really what the church needs to answer. What side is the church on? And I would hope it's on the
Yeah.
side of the Lord, because when they say that they're on his side, they're going to realize that when they're praying for Israel and they're praying for peace, it's prayer for the blessing of the entire world. That's what Paul says in Romans. He's saying
Mhm.
we should be about Israel's best, because when we're about their best, it's really for the best of all of us. Life is going to come to all the nations as a result of Israel being in peace and prospering. And so, again, it's about Israel, yes, but it's also about the nations, all of us. God called
Yeah.
Abraham to be a light to all nations. And we have to stop saying whose side are you on. You're either on the Lord's side or you're on no side. That's it. I mean, I think it's that simple. And when you look at his,
I do too. I do too.
but maybe we're just two crazy Jews talking on a podcast having fun.
Yeah, well, we've got between I know you have so many friends and their kids that are some of the IDF. Like you are so so many people have been affected by this, and are you are affected by it. Just being Jewish today, no matter what slant you are of Jewish, there's hatred that we've never thought we'd be living in today. It's unbelievable. You don't see Jews saying death to Muslims. They're just saying the Ayatollahs have to go, Hamas has to go, and all these extreme regimes that are issuing death chants to our whole entire people group. None of us, at least collectively, are saying anything about innocent people. We're just trying to protect our families, our present and our future, because the threat is so imminent, and it's spread into the civilian society. Where across America they're saying river to the sea. That is all talking about civilian people, innocent people who are 1 to 2 generations from the Holocaust that just want to live. We just want to. I keep showing this necklace that people. It's chai. It means life. All we want to do is live. All we want to do is have life and life more abundantly. We don't want to take a life, but what do you do when people are threatening and are right now taking your lives or holding your family right now in a tunnel? There's a season, Ecclesiastes said, there's a season of peace, there's a season of war. Sadly, This is the season of war, and we're hoping greatly we can go back to the season of peace. And we know the true season is going to come when the Prince of Peace comes, but I'm saying temporarily, we're praying for that season of peace to come again, especially my wife, so our son can get out and he can just patrol some border somewhere after Gaza is our hostages, God willing, come back soon.
Yeah, and I think it's important that when this war cycle um, comes down, because it will, that we need to be even more prayerful and mindful of seeing the soon return of the Lord, because we know at that moment we're going to see this all hell coming against Israel, that false peace. Because in Ezekiel
Mm.
38, it talks very specifically about Israel coming out of a season of war, entering into a time of a false peace, and then the end is coming, and Yeshua himself has to get involved to protect the land. And so I
Wow.
continually encourage believers, read Matthew 24 and read Ezekiel uh, 38. I think these times are very sobering, and we got to continue to stand on the wall to pray. Yes, for I get so tired of saying we have to pray. How many times can you say pray for Israel and also pray for the Arab peoples? It's what's
Yeah.
interesting though is that a majority of those who follow our Shabbat in your home overseas, Joshua, this was an amazing statistic, are Iranians.
Really?
Biblically, Jews and Persians have so much love for each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a rich history. And
They had a
that's
long history, yeah, of
100%.
coexistence or being together.
And one day it's going to be revised. We're going to have that relationship again with all of the surrounding family
Yep.
again.
With the
And I
Isaiah
look,
19 highway, worship going right through the Middle East.
let's be a part of that worship crew, right?
Heck yes. Heck yes. People say nice things about, like, oh, maybe you lead the worship. Like, no, no, no. God's going to have a better plan. There's going to be I don't think it's going to be like, today, like a rock concert. I think it's going to be something that's why when they ask me a lot to do the harps, my friend Kate Hess and Tom Hess, they have this harp ensemble. And it's one of the most
It's
purest things I've
beautiful.
ever been a part of because it's like, well, in heaven, will we have a bass player? Will I be playing my classical guitar, electric guitar, or ukulele? No, I don't think I will. I'll probably be strumming I mean, the Bible talks about harps in heaven, and shofars or trumpets. It doesn't matter, I'm not stuck to an instrument. I'm going to be stuck to just worshiping our King and in a pure way. And there's something about the harp that seems so pure. There's no superstar harp player. We're all just strumming together, and it's the volume of the harp is it's like at such a level that you can hear everybody too. It's so special, and I'm looking forward to that day where it's not about how because the reason why I say that is like my goal isn't to be that. My goal is to use music to point people to Him. But there's going to come a pure season where we're all going to be worshiping, and it's not going to be, well, who's going to be the worship leader? It's just going to be, I don't know how else to say. It's just going to be worship, and it's not going to be what we think it is. It's going to be in a pure way, and I'm looking forward to that season. I really am. Um,
Yeah, me too.
I'd love to just go back to a cappella once in a while, just for like a half an hour. It's just let's just rid ourselves of all the hype, and there's a time for that, um, and just hear what God hears, which is, or what God wants to hear, is a unified body worshiping Him in spirit and in truth, without regard to divisions. I'm looking forward to that day.
Yeah, Beyachad. How good and pleasant it is when brothers, family, dwells together in
That's
unity.
right.
That's what brings the blessing of
Yeah.
the Lord. So,
Hmm.
well, how can people connect with you, Joshua? I'm going to put your tags of all of your different social medias in the
Okay.
description, but maybe you'd just like to close us out, share us a little. Maybe there's a special event down the road you're looking forward to. You want to talk about Gather the Nations or something on your heart in that
Yeah. Okay.
regards.
I did want to say, I think I was thinking about, we were talking before we started this. Those of you who are watching the news, you're like, oh man, Israel, it's not good right now. Well, we have some hope, and I know it's temporal hope, but it's been 50 years since we've had a war like on a large scale war like this. And we believe, Nathan and I were talking, we believe the doors are going to open like within months where Iran is scared to death. God willing, America is going to has pummeled their stuff. They're actually own the skies over Iran. Israel owns the skies over Iran. Hamas is being pushed into a corner. And tourism, this is what I'm trying to say. I know your dad's bringing a tour next year, doing live recording next year. So start thinking about it. You guys watching, start thinking about coming to Israel. I just came back, and Israelis would love to see you. So start thinking about it. Go to Wilbur Ministries. They're bringing the group next year. And we love seeing people in Israel. I believe tourism is going to open up this year. So by the end of this year, it's going to start flowing like it happened after COVID, and it was just like every hotel was booked. So start thinking about it now. If you're thinking about it, come visit Israel. Israel needs you. They need to get a hug, just a smile, or buy something from their stores. They're going to be it's going to be a healing season. And I've watched my Israeli neighbors. I've watched my shop owner friends. They go from like this to they just soak up all the love of our Christian brothers and sisters when they start coming back to Israel. So it's a mitzvah to come to Israel. The Bible says, "Blessed is the man who makes pilgrimage to Israel, to Jerusalem." So start thinking about it. That's all I'm saying. Start thinking about coming to Israel. And one of the best ways, Uncle Paul, Nathan have been bringing people to Israel since the '80s, I think, right, or early '90s. It's been a long,
Yeah, it's
or
been the
being a part of that.
80s. Yeah.
So
I
that's
I
something I
have
want.
the I was
You
just
got
going to
some of the
say I
shirts
saw
or the
the
paraphernalia?
VHS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, remember those old recorders that used to look like a big bug? There's some
Yeah.
recordings of my dad with Israel's Hope when they were in Israel in the 80s. It's like, wow, dad, the beard and the curly hair.
Uh-huh. Yep. So there's hope, everybody. Come on back to Israel. Come visit Israel. They need to see you. And Israel won't let you come if it's not safe. I've seen them close things down. Not that often, but if it's not safe, they'll just keep you away from always the or the Golan. Well, it's been and Hamas is being pummeled. Iran is being silenced. At least it's going to take a long while for them to build. So start thinking about coming to Israel. That's the hopeful part. I wanted to end on that. But also, yeah, as far as me, um, just my website's joshuaaaron.tv. I send an email every Friday, so sign up to my email. And the reason why, one of the many reasons why I'm on this side of the pond right now, and I'm back in Israel all the time, but while we're based in the States, I'm here in the Pocono Mountains in our cottage. I don't know if you could tell, I got this little nice pine, a cottage here in the Pocono Mountains where my mom moved from Israel and fell in love with my dad here in the Poconos. Um, but I'm here because I believe that God wants to gather the nations. You know, dare I use the word remnant? But the Yeshua is coming back, and Israel has to welcome him back. But also the fullness of the Gentile, the full age of the fullness of the nations. Papa Don Finto says, we're in it. It's not coming, it is now, the fullness of the Gentile. So we want to have places to meet. We've met in our first year we came back to the States. We met in Dallas. We had 1,200 people on the Feast of Trumpets this year. Last year we met in Orlando, 1,300 people for the weekend on the Feast of Trumpets. And this year we're going to meet in Zurich, Switzerland on the Feast of Trumpets. It's a labor of love. I go broke every year because I don't know how to run a nonprofit, and it's truly a nonprofit. I lose money every year because I just believe. I believe in it, and people, if you're worried about me, just keep downloading my music or buy some hats on my website. But I just believe that God wants to assemble the saints in these last days. Oh my goodness, all the more after this 12-day war. I know I know you are watching. Most of you are like, yeah, I have nowhere to go. I'm afraid to even talk about Israel. Well, come be with us. Come to a Uncle Paul concert. Come where you can assemble. It's time we keep getting together as much as possible. But just so you know, we're assembling every Feast of Trumpets with Gather the Nations, and we're a mobile tent. So come join us in Switzerland this year, and next year we'll be back in the States. So my website's just joshuaaaron.tv, and our ministry website is gatherthenations.org. And yeah, on social media, just Joshua Aaron.
Yeah, please, everybody go listen to all the music, help the streaming count go up. My family does it all the time on Shabbat. We have my dad's worship because we have to support, and I love his music too, but we also
Oh yeah,
have Joshua Aaron, and my
absolutely.
kids all know your music and
Oh,
they're singing.
oh. Well, I'm about due for some new albums. I've been so,
Let's go.
just two sides of the brain. I went to business school. I love to write new songs and worship, but like it's been tough having, for 2.5 years, soldiers in an active war. Well, before the war and then during the war. So I feel like I think the Lord's going to give me the grace and mercy. I've got enough songs for an album. I want to do 2 or 3 albums in the next 12 months. I really do because I'm about
Awesome.
due, and my brain is such a heavy load side, so I couldn't get that creative side to like Josh, just make some music. But I'm about to, so I'm looking forward to that season coming up because music is it's such a powerful tool. There's a reason why the demons were driven away when King David was playing the harp, and I find myself listening to music less, and I shouldn't. And um, but once in a while, I turn it on, and I'm like, oh, what's the matter with me? I just need to worship the Lord, and I find myself getting distracted by all the weight on our family right now. That I'm in a season where I'm going back, recognizing that, man, just praise Him in the dark, in the hills and the valleys. So
Yep.
that's my story.
That's a
Thank
great
you,
message for all of us when we're going
thank you,
through
brother.
difficult seasons. You know,
Yeah,
in the West, it's usually a complaining about the economy or this political stance and that. And then reality hits. It's like there's wars happening. There's believers in Africa that are losing their lives because of Islam. So,
yeah.
how much more grateful should we be and stop all the bickering and fighting amongst ourselves over what? You know,
Oh,
don't even
and
get me on that one.
we're constantly praying before the war, after this war, and Persian Christian brothers and sisters that are being persecuted now as we speak. In Africa as well, are being persecuted by extreme Islam, and we're living in an era that I think um, nobody would have thought we'd be living in 2025. So we need to pray for our brothers and sisters. When we say pray for Israel, we're not saying don't pray for our brothers and sisters around the world. We're supposed to do good to those in need, especially the household of faith. So the household of faith, we are always praying. I know you are. I know in Israel, we are Arab and Jewish brothers and sisters. We meet all together all the time. We don't see the distinctions. So therefore, we pray for our brothers and sisters across the borders in Syria. They're going through a terrible time right now, and across the Middle East. So yeah, if you're watching, I wanted to end on a high note, but yeah, don't forget to pray for your Arab and Persian Christian brothers and sisters right now who are there on the front lines too.
Yeah, there was some news that came out right after uh, Operation
The
Midnight
ceasefire.
Hammer. Yeah, that when the ceasefire went into effect, the Iranian government went in and just started arresting a bunch of people, and it's just it's really sad.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a it's a reality.
Yeah, it really is. It's terrible, and all the more that you're not going to see me in America sitting on my couch, for months at a time. All the more reason I'm going to be out there. We're going to be out there. You're going to keep going on your podcast. Keep going, brother. Thank you so much because we've been given a window and a freedom that most don't have, and we're going to use it to be a light to the nations.
Yeah, appreciate that. If you're watching this content and you like it, hopefully, please give us a thumbs up, comment in the section, share something that really touched you or ministered to you, or maybe something that you're processing. The comments help the algorithm. And the greatest thing you can do is subscribe to our channel and also share this content on your social media because we're just trying to spread the message of who Yeshua is in a loving manner
That's right.
and just bring truth. So, truth and love, they go together. But thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again soon.